Welcome to our lesson, Defining and Finding the 8 Wastes. There's a lot of benefits to eliminating waste. Everyone can get behind it verbally. The reason why I add the qualification verbally is in some instances when you start talking about waste, it could be people's jobs or tasks that they're performing. And when you start calling it waste, that can be hurtful. So they may say verbally that they're behind it, but they may have reservations. But that's your leadership role and the leadership of the team's role to explain it more, which we're going to help you do. There are specific kinds of waste. Every process always has waste. There isn't anything that we do that doesn't have some form of waste in the process. It's inherent of creating a process. Waste will come from it. Perfection lies in the continuous journey to eliminate it. So again, it's a continuous loop, just like the PDCA loop. It never ends. As you improve the process and make it better towards perfection, inherently waste will come out. The 8 forms of waste. Transportation. So if you want to remember these from an acronym standpoint, I won't necessarily say an easy way, but one way is through Tim Woods, and it starts with transportation. The next is inventory, motion, waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, defects, and skills, underutilized. This one's last, but this is probably one of the top ones. You hire the best people to support your process. They have the skills. Are you tapping into all of them to find and eliminate the 8 forms of waste? So let's talk about transportation. Moving something to an interim location, not shipping or receiving. Touching a part without installing it. Shuttling product between sites on a milk run. Utilize racking when it could be shipping. And in this picture, this is a cell where we're looking at material and all the movements from a transportation standpoint inside the cell. Inventory. Holding inventory levels to meet an internal metric. Running excessive inventory to support a forecast. Probably my least favorite. We need to make the quarter, we need to make the month, so let's run some added finished goods to make the number. Line side, market side, building or warehouse inventory. Know what you have and where you have it. One of the worst levels of inventory is when you have uncalculated amounts. If someone can't explain why we have the amount of inventory levels that we have, it's critical that they understand the impact. Motion. As you can see from these 2 pictures, there's a lot of activity. This is all motion of team members and material in the plant. The one on the left was before a layout event where we looked at motion. The one on the right, you can see it's much more streamlined. Honor the team member first when you think of motion and equipment second. The reason why I say team members first is reduce fatigue, reduce safety exposure, but also respecting their talents. Don't have them moving all over the place. Have them focused on the value add for the customer. Math will ultimately set you free from waste. Steps and distance, understanding where the team members are going and doing the math about how much movement is happening per day, per week, or per year. So reception of parts at finished goods is all working capital tied up. So once it hits the dock door, is it going to where the place is that it's going to create the value, or is it going into a warehouse or moving throughout the plant? That's wasted motion too. Waiting. Waiting for customer orders rather than running the current orders. I've seen people run the orders that run the easiest while they push other orders out, so they keep customers waiting. Material deliveries, internal or external. You're waiting for a delivery, or your customer's waiting for you to deliver the component to them. They're waiting for you. The problem with waiting is you don't always see your customer waiting. Approval from a manager or supervisor. This gets into the non-value add activities and the checkoffs or the sign-offs. It's important that we eliminate those checkoffs as often as possible, because what that's doing is just holding things up. We're waiting for something to be approved when it should just flow through. Overproduction. This one sounds simple. It's producing more than demand though. Did the customer actually order it? Is there a need for it? Is there demand for it? Producing to keep costs down. Well, we have the labor here. Let's use it. Let's build as much as we can while the labor's here. That's a waste. It's overproduction. Producing a high quantity of parts to hit absorption rates. As we talked about incurred versus absorbed in the metrics, people will run just to hit absorption rates. That's another waste or overproduction. Overprocessing. Ensure over-engineering of parts is not happening. If you have to explain the detail of why it's important, but the customer can't explain it, you may be overprocessing the parts. If you have 1 hour is the spec and 2 hours doesn't make it better. If the spec is 1 hour rest time, don't wait 2 hours. You're overprocessing. If the torque is set to 3, 5 isn't going to make it better. So as you look at the details of how you produce the products, what you do in your plant, make sure that you understand where are you overprocessing. Downtime, pulling the andon, minor stoppages in the cell. It's great when someone lets you know something is happening in the cell. Downtime is not always bad, but downtime ultimately leads to waste because you're wasting resources. But minor stops, speed changes, they're all important. So when you're talking to your team members again about waste, it's not necessarily to call it all bad, because if they think downtime is bad and stoppages are bad, they may hide them from you. So don't treat it as a negative. Treat it as a positive when they come to you that the line's down. The issue is you've invested in materials, people, and equipment to make product. So at the end of the day, downtime is costly. As I mentioned earlier, my favorite one, the image here of the boss saying, I'm the most important. They have all the answers. They know what's happening. And of course, we've all worked with team members who believe they know the most in the room, and that's okay. But ultimately, that's a waste. It's unused skill of the team members in the room. If you're having an issue, the best thing to do is go to where it's happening, go to the scene of the crime, and talk to the team members that are actually performing the work. Before you start to define what the problem is or understand what's happening, ask the team members that actually perform the work. One question that I ask people is name your top 3 team members on the line that are working in that area. If somebody can name the top 3 team members, we're listening to team members. If they can't name people by their first or even their first and last name, are they really tapping into the talent on the floor? You need to take your team members seriously because they have the answers. And there may be 3 or 4 people that it takes to create the answer, but what better way to not unuse their talents? Waste is about knowledge. Know the problem the customer is using your product to solve. This may sound really high level, but any product that you create for your customer, knowing what they're actually using it for is really critical. So back to the torque setting, the 3 versus the 5. If you know that the customer cares about 3, then why are you doing 5? That's a waste. Know what steps in your process create value for the customer. So if you're torquing it to 5 and you have 2 torque lines that you pass it to get it from 3 to 5, you have 2 process steps that are actually waste. The customer does not see that as value add. Eliminating waste, everyone can get behind, but make sure everyone knows what the wasted steps are in the process. As we get into value stream mapping and process mapping, you can call these out visually, but what's more important is that you're communicating to your team what are the steps that do not create value. And they may be required currently, but in the future, we may be able to eliminate those steps. It is not good enough for you to know and teach. You have to show the team on the floor. This is going to the Gemba, going to see, but also it's interacting with the team members. And the more you spend time on the floor and in the area and in the process, the easier you are to explain the process. And again, if you can explain it simply, you can solve it. Gain alignment and you will gain progress. Methods to eliminate waste. Calibration walks is a wonderful one. So any interns or new leaders that join our business, walking with them through the plant or through the process is a great way to talk to them and ask them questions. What do you see? What do you hear? Who did you greet? Who did you get to know? And as you're walking, you can mirror those things and ask questions, dig into details. They're going to be watching how you interact with team members. Waste walks. So this is a specific walk just for waste. Let's go look for specific waste in certain areas. It could be one cell, it could be the value stream, it could be a certain area, but looking for actual waste and writing it out. Kaizen events. These are wonderful, but in isolation, they can actually be negative. So make sure that when we're doing Kaizen events, it ladders up to the transformation plan and to the value stream maps that you create. Visual management. If you're having issues with downtime, with material usage or scrap, the visual management, bring that up so people see it. You need to see things in order to impact them. Standardized work or standard work. That's a great way to value people's time. So back to the unused talents, having standard work ensures that the work that they do complete actually adds value, and you take out steps that do not add value. So when you think about Tim Wood and you think about the 8 wastes, it's critical to know each one of them, because each one of your process contains one, if not all of them. And even if you're far along on the lean journey, the CI journey, your process is still producing waste in certain areas. So know the Tim Wood 8 wastes, because lean is not about the tools. Lean is about developing people. And that completes our course on learning to see waste.